Hello, everyone. Hey, welcome. Welcome to City Clubhouse for another big night in the continuation and history of this club, DCFC. We are here to welcome the fourth head coach in the history of the men's program, and we appreciate having you all here. So many great familiar faces. Supporters have been with us since day one, as well as a lot of City youth. Can I get a DCFC from the kids in the audience? If you have not been here on a Saturday morning from soccer tots on the way up, we instill the DCFC chant into the youngest in the DCFC family. So, no, this is a big night, and again, appreciate everyone's continued support and being out here tonight. This is significant in that I think this represents this introduction of Danny Dichio represents the continued growth of DCFC and our investment in building out the infrastructure, the technical side, the sporting side, to be not just in this level of USL Championship, but being a competitor at this level. And so, very excited to welcome Danny to the family here. We wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't for Trevor James, our new sporting director. So a big thank you to Trevor. Being behind the curtain, I think it has to be acknowledged that over the past 5-6 months here, Trevor has not only been managing the men's team on a day-to-day basis, but he also was heading up the recruitment of the 2024 roster, building that out, as well as being the lead on the hiring of the head coach. So huge thanks to Trevor for everything that he's been doing these few months and setting us up for success moving forward. So thank you, Trevor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we introduce Danny, I just want to, thank you, Trevor, but also if you want to just recap how we got here, what did the hiring process look like, and what were you looking for filling this role?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Sean. Over the last, obviously I've been here 5 years, over the last 2 years in our move into the USL Championship, it sort of, was quite obvious that it was the role I was doing as head coach and general manager was going to give it too big a job for one person. So, once we decided that was the role we were going to go, we looked at what we needed. We looked at the fact that we needed somebody to come in with strong character. We didn't need somebody to come and build a foundation, because the foundations were set and were obviously in good shape up to that point. So we looked at somebody who would come in and carry on what we've built over the 5 years or so. So that was the first thing. So we looked around the league, the USL Championship. We wanted somebody who was A-license qualified. We wanted somebody who had experience within the USL Championship. So we looked at who was successful, who was doing a good job, who was doing a good job at other teams, and could we entice somebody to leave one of those teams and to come here. So that was the first look. So we narrowed it down. We had a search. We narrowed it down to a few candidates, and then we went through quite a thorough process of interviewing them, and we had all the ownership involved with that, obviously. And it sort of narrowed it down to 2 or 3 people, and all qualified, all very well respected people within the game and within the USL Championship. So that was the process. Obviously, Danny. Once we met with Danny, he sort of stood out a little bit, and obviously, it wasn't a difficult decision to see that he was the strong character that we needed to take the club forward. And again, so hence it's take the club forward, because we are in a position now where it is a 2-man job. and that's where I'll work closely with Danny as far as trying to build the roster. But you know, so that he can focus on his role as head coach, because we broke the positions up. We didn't have a head coach and general manager. We didn't have a manager. We had a head coach, totally to can concentrate on the game, can concentrate on picking the team, coaching the team, winning it, doing whatever he can to win as many games for everybody in this room, week in, week out. So that was a process, and obviously I think everybody was pleased when we made the announcement, and I'm sure he's looking forward to getting going. Well, I know he's looking forward to getting going. So like all of us, we wish him the very best, and hopefully he'll have at least the 5 years that I had here, and with his success. So that was the process.
Yep. I guess without further ado, I guess we can introduce Danny here, who's just, well, he's been chomping at the bit since he got to town Friday. But without further ado, let's welcome Danny on over. Danny?
Great job, Sean. I'll take it from here. Alex Wright here, everyone. Fellow co-owner with Sean Mann, and I will be handling the moderator part of our portion of our evening. And far be it from me to, as much as I'd like to think that everyone reads and memorizes every single press release that I send out. I realize that we're all very busy people, and that might not always be the case. So I thought I would start this conversation by giving a little background on our new head coach, Danny Dichio. I'm probably starting with that, confirming that is the pronunciation of your last name, right? Well, you say it the Italian way, right?
Exactly.
Dichio, okay. Va bene. Andiamo. Welcome to Danny Dichio, fourth head coach in the history of our men's senior side, which goes back to 2012. And so 12 seasons, 4 head coaches, not bad. As far as Danny goes, though, starting as an extremely distinguished player, he's someone who's served notable stints at QPR, Queens Park Rangers, Sunderland, Millwall, Preston North End, before coming to the MLS. This is in 2007, to join Toronto FC for their inaugural season in Major League Soccer. And Danny became a adored figure in Toronto. In fact, scoring their first goal in Major League Soccer, definitely still a legend in Toronto. Went on to join the coaching ranks after that at Toronto, and just a couple of years ago, in search of new challenges and opportunities, he left for Sacramento FC, where he took on the assistant coaching role in the last 2 years under head coach Mark Briggs. For those of you unaware, Sacramento is one of the class organizations in our league. Certainly one of the finest teams we've played against in the league, and I know that that's something that I've heard both our players and technical staff confirm. And a testament to their performance, they were a top 4 team in the West 2 years in a row. They finished first overall in the regular season on that side. In 2023, only losing to in the West semis to the team that eventually won the championship. And also they had an unforgettable 2022 U.S. Open Cup finals run in 2022. So we're talking about a pedigree as a player and also as a coach. Trevor and Sean spoke a bit about the criteria that went into the decision, and obviously Danny brings so much to the table in both of those categories. So enough of me filling in the blanks there. Let's start. Excuse me, Danny. Let's start. I do have a few questions. I welcome any questions that are in the house, and then anyone watching on the stream. But let's use this opportunity to scratch the surface on your philosophy and your career. And let me just start with this: as what is it that after 15 plus years playing, not all players, especially that have assumed the level that you did, chose to keep staying in the game? Right? The passion for coaching, where does that come from? What is it that convinced you to stay in the game as a career, not just as a player? What drives you as a coach? What is it that, in fact, has driven you to find yourself here in Detroit?
Well, long story short, but it started off like these guys over here sitting on the sofa at like probably 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, finding a real love and passion for the game, and growing up in England, West London, having an Italian father, very strict Italian father as well, that pushed football on me a lot, and it was a big thing in my household to have football on the TV 24/7, whether it be Italian football, English football, any football that was on, it was in your face, and that's something that's built into the culture of a lot of young kids in England, and it's great to see a lot of young fans and future players in this room today. But seeing the amount of fans that have turned up today, I thank you for that. But going back to myself, I signed for my professional club, my first forms, schoolboy forms, when I was 9 years old. So going through school, playing for my country at a young age as well, just kept building on the love and passion for the game, and it's basically all I've known. I have a love for music as well, which I'm sure you're going to ask me, but my real love is football, and it's all I've known since a young boy, and it's transitioned into wanting to give back after I finished playing, feeling a real leader when I was a player and wanting to help players around me, but also taking in knowledge from other players that were older than me at the time, always learning. Even when I was retiring as a player, I was always taking in information and just keep trying to, tweak my craft at the game and just my understanding of the different tactical approaches, because the game is such a, as we all love it, is a world game. There's no right way to play the game. You can't ask a Brazilian kid to play exactly the same way as an English kid. You can't ask an Italian boy to play the same way as a boy from Nigeria, because we just have different cultures, different ways of playing, and that's what makes it so open and loving, that everyone loves the game of football. And that's my big passion. My background is behind that, and wanting to keep learning, keep trying to succeed at my craft and pass on the knowledge and experience that I have.
So at this point in your career, that's 30 years in the sport, almost 50-50 playing and coaching now.
Yeah.
A lot of time to think about what sort of identity a Danny Dichio coach team would have. So what stands out to you is classic criteria? What do you look for? What sort of, when folks watch your teams play, what sort of things do you want them thinking?
I think you're going to see it pretty evidently from the first couple of games that we play, is that we're going to be super aggressive. We're going to play on the front foot. We are not going to respect the other teams. We're going to respect them because they're our opponents, but not respect them for who they are as a club, whether it be Louisville, Pittsburgh, Sacramento, whoever it is. We're going to focus on ourselves and be as aggressive as we can be with the game plan in mind, but I want a team that play with their heart on their sleeves, that have the mentality and the resilience that we know that people of Detroit have as well. And we want them to resemble that. We want there to be a team on the field that the fans are coming to be excited by, but to get behind and cause even more rowdiness in the stands. I don't think we need
he's done his homework. He's done his homework. All right. On that note, just to speak a little bit deeper to the putting my stats hat on again, talking about what the Sacramento team accomplished last year. We're talking about a team that was #1 in goals conceded per match. So it's not you think of the West and the USL, you think about goals, but this is also one of the strongest defensive teams. They led the entire USL in clean sheets, but they're also top 5 in shots on target, accurate crosses per match, top 10 in goals per match. So. A lot of accolades, a lot of high-ranking criteria. That's probably the most you'll ever hear me talk about another club besides mine, positively speaking. But all to lead up to the question, Danny, why Detroit, right? Could you talk about a little bit why you decided to make us, from your side? What is this experience? What has this process been like? What's attracted you to this club in this city?
to be quite honest, it was probably 2 years ago when we played you guys at Keyworth, and it was a really interesting experience because we came across from California, the sun shining and everything, and we get on the plane and we're going to a place that we know is a very difficult place because I don't think you guys had lost at home that year. You just beat Columbus in the US Open Cup, so we knew that we had a big game on our hands. But we turned up because we come in 2 days earlier, and we arrive at Keyworth for our first training session, and there's a group of young kids, about probably 6 to 7 of them, just mucking around on the field, and we're like, what's going on here? So we were asking them to get off, and they politely said no. So we then had to get our equipment guy and kind of usher them off, but we had a little bit of banter with them, and it was a real eye-opener for a lot of our players, but it took me back personally, but I think a lot of the players, we had a couple of British boys on the team, and also the American guys, it took us back to our youth where we'd played in smaller, really compact stadiums where the stands are really close to the sidelines, and just being in the locker rooms and the surrounding area, you kind of felt you were at a lower league English stadium, an English club, and that really appealed to me. And then we turned up for the game on Saturday, and we saw what an incredible atmosphere it was. Lots of banter going back and forward from the staff to the fans behind us on the bench, but even from the players to the fans. And I just thought this is as close as you're going to get to an atmosphere like you would get into Europe. So for me, that was really appealing. And obviously coming in within the last 2-3 months after speaking to Trevor and to Tiffany and to the ownership group and understanding the story and the uniqueness of how the club was started, but how much of a community club it is. And it gave me the same vibes as the club I grew up with, which is QPR in West London. A smaller club in West London. We have the likes of Fulham and Chelsea on our doorsteps, but a real community-driven club. Lots of generations of fans where it's been passed down from the grandfather to the dad, to the daughter, to the son. And I got that same vibe here. I got that same authenticity of people caring about their local club, but wanting to be part of a club and be a head coach of a club and leading that club in its community. So that really appealed to me.
Thank you. At this stage, I think it'd be great to loop Trevor back in to make it more of a three-person conversation from the approach of one of the most important aspects of this move forward for the club is instilling you as the sporting director. And therefore, for the first time ever, our operations, our technical side, we might need a few extra chairs at the tables when we're making decisions. But in seriousness, I'm very interested, and I would like to know what you could share in terms of how you envision this new dynamic to unfold. When I talk to Danny about what he wants people to think when they see the team play, how do you want people to experience, or what do you think, what do you hope the outcome will be in a new relationship, in a new dynamic, sporting director to head coach, and then a larger staff?
Yeah, well, I think, as you touched on, we go into this as new, but as I touched on earlier, the job is too big for one person to actually to be able to give the work needed to the coaching side of it and the technical side of it, to also to work the phones and the emails and text messages that needs to be kept going and through the course of the day. So just looking at it that way, I think that, it's a partnership. Obviously, all I can do is to try to support, Danny's role and try to make him and give him the tools to be successful. And obviously, we'll work closely in that. But I think, as I said, the more he can focus on what he's good at, and he will be very good at as a head coach, the better it's going to be for the club. And again, where we're going is we're trying to push up and improve every year. And obviously he knows that, and he's got the the right frame of mind to do that. So I think that's the goal. Can we get that elusive home playoff game, and then we'll go from there.
Danny, talk about that. You mentioned that a Dichio coach team is going to be aggressive. Is going to be keep the opponent on the. It's going to be on the front foot and keep the opponent playing defensively. Can you talk a little bit about what are the strengths that you bring when you're leading a club as a coach? What strengths do you bring? What are you going to rely on? What skills that you've learned, both as an assistant but as a player, do you think put you in the best position to lead a club in that way? In other words, not necessarily, but feel free to speak tactically. But I sort of mean what aspects of the game do you feel most comfortable working within as a head coach to manipulate a positive outcome?
I think the analysis of opponents, that was my main job at Sacramento, is understanding who we're going to be playing against, how we're going to approach the game, how we're going to break them down, how we're going to exploit them. And that's a big thing for coaches and my staff to really work on efficiently with. But for me, my own personal skills, I feel I'm a good leader. I think Trevor will attest to it as well. 50 to 60% of being a head coach now is managing players and managing personalities, keeping everyone happy. I think a famous coach, Arsene Wenger, said the hardest point is not managing 1 to 11. It's managing 12 to 20 in your roster and keeping everyone happy. So keeping everyone motivated, understanding the objectives, not only for each game in hand, but for the season. And Trev brought it up about we want to host a home playoff place. That should be our objective as a team, but not only hosting it, but winning it and trying to go on to the next level, which you guys got to this year after beating Pittsburgh away. But we want to bring that to a home game for the fans this year. So it's going to be high demands, but I have high standards for myself, and I expect the players to adhere by those high standards as well to get us where we want to get to.
Well, far be it from me to question the philosophy of managing all of the voices in the room. At this point, I think it would be a great opportunity if any folks in the room do have questions for Danny or Trevor. It's populating a bit on the stream, so I will get to you folks, but as usual, we like to prioritize the folks in the room. So yes, please, and I'll say the question after you give it.
I have a couple, one for me and one for Ava.
Okay.
We'll start out light. Mine is, what is going to be your on-field kind of style?
So the question is for Danny, I'm assuming, is what will be what's it going to look like? What are you going to look like on the sideline? What's your yet?
Do you mean my own personal style?
No, like on the field. How do you represent?
It depends, honestly, what kind of weather it is.
Cold.
If it's cold, like in Toronto, I could be wearing a jumpsuit, a sleeping jacket, everything. Let's keep myself warm.
Ava wants to know how you feel about post-game high fives.
The very essential Ava's post-game high five question. What's your take on post-game high fives, Danny?
I think it's a necessity, just for the fans and the players to obviously, whether it's a win, draw, or loss, you got to go and say hi to the fans. And
Oh, she's holding you to it.
There we go.
There we go, proof. For those of us listening in, the child gave the coach a high five. Anyone else? Non or more high five related questions? Yes.
Ooh, good question.
DCFC
Good question.
youth getting right to it.
Yeah,
A
I love it.
formation question. Love it.
I love it. So if I was to say we were going to play with a back three, what formation would you think we are going to play? I'm throwing it back at you. Ooh, very close. No, for me, we played very well with formation of a 3-4-3 in Sacramento. It's something that I want to try and implement with this group, but we've also spoken as well. We're playing with a back four, and I think you can adjust game to game, but we have to have a style of play and an understanding of what the players are trying to implement for our principles and phases that we'll speak in training day to day. But We are going to try and play a new system and see how the players adapt to it in pre-season. We might adjust after a month or so. We might adjust to a team that we feel don't play very well against a back four, but 2 strikers as well, and a 4-4-2, which I know you guys played a little bit last time. So I'm very flexible with that sense. My main objective is to get wins, so whatever formation works for us, the best players will play, the best hard training players will play, and hopefully they'll produce the result we need.
Do I see a follow-up question there? Better be good.
Yeah, you. My only question.
Hold on. Okay, John. Yeah, John Sarge has a question. Sorry. Go ahead, John.
With your history, are you going to be able to help us score some goals? That was our weakness last year. You had a hell of a defense.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Trevor, did you want to repeat that question, or should I?
You're not on the pitch, Trevor.
Well, listen, we've been in contact to a very good player in Saudi Arabia who is a top striker with the initials of CR. But he doesn't want to leave Saudi Arabia to come to Detroit at the moment. So we're going to be looking elsewhere. But no, it's definitely an area that we feel we need to improve on. I would say that there's some good players within this group in the forward line already. Maybe they just didn't have the service last year that they deserved. And I think if we bring in a couple of players, especially along that forward line, it will help not only us to score goals, but it will help players that we already have succeed in scoring even more goals and being more confident in front of net.
Any other folks in the house? Yeah, right. Yeah, Garrett.
All right. First off, Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
When you were here in June 2022, you got to see some of the things that the support community takes part in, the things that they believe in. For example, at that time of the year, it was beginning the pride racing season, the work we do with Rebellis, your team. And we were wondering, as kind of a get to know our new head coach, is there any causes that you personally believe?
So the question from Garrett, I guess asking on so much of the supporter fan base is in reflection of the well-known support that our fans bring to so many different causes and the good work we do in the community and they do in the community. Are there any causes that are near and dear to your heart specifically?
For sure. I mean, first of all, you guys do a great job with what you bring to the different community events, but there was stuff that I worked with in Sacramento, that even in Toronto I worked with programs for underprivileged kids that can't afford sports. So we did a lot of stuff with that, and a lot of stuff with the shelter homes and the homeless. So I think it's a need, especially in the current situation that we have in not only in the United States, but in Canada, where I was living for a long time, especially in the winter months here. So I think you guys already do a good job of it already, but it's something close to me where I would like to lend my hand as well.
Any other? Yes, I see a hand up.
You talked about exploiting other teams' weaknesses. What about exploiting your own players' strengths and helping them grow new ones?
Oh,
Great
great question about, I think that was sort of a how do you motivate type question? Excellent question.
I have a very good way of motivating. I won't show that here, but no, I believe in giving players confidence. I was a player myself not long ago, 10, 15 years ago now, but I understand what certain players go through, especially strikers and forwards, where you're putting maximum effort in, but the ball's not going in the back of the net for you. So I sometimes understand that a rollicking or a loud word in his ear is not the best thing. So it's about dealing with different personalities and different characters within the group. Some guys need a kick up the backside. A lot of guys need an arm around the shoulder, and that's for myself and the staff to deal with that. But I'm a big believer in giving the guys confidence to try and succeed at their most, and hopefully having them in an environment where we're encouraging, we're demanding, we have high standards, as I talk about. It will propel guys into performing at their best. But really good question. I like that.
Wanted to turn to a couple off the stream, and then if folks have anything else, of course, we'll turn back to you. But looping Trevor back in, and I think this is probably a question that either of you could sort of tag team on, is really a lot of questions related to player retention, player evaluation, player acquisition, maybe starting with Trevor. Can you now that we're at the point where it feels like that's the most pressing focus at this point, which would be the 2024 roster? Is there anything that where's your head at now in terms of the cadence and the timeline for what is the next couple months going to look like when it comes to the 2024 roster?
Yeah, well, we're fortunate that we have a good core of the roster returning, so that's good. We had a very good defensive record last year, thanks John, so it was good to obviously to have a bunch of those lads come back again and be ready to go again next year. We've talked already, obviously, since Danny's been in town. We've been certainly identifying players, and yes, the next month is going to be quite hectic, but we do need to get the attacking pieces that Danny spoke about, and we need to get those in place. And obviously, the sooner we can add some of those pieces, the better, because obviously we're looking to strengthen the team. We're looking at good players, and obviously those sort of players, if we wait too long, we will miss out on. So yes, we're looking at this month. We really need to get going with a bit of urgency in identifying and obviously trying to bring those players here.
Any questions? Any other questions from the room here before I? Yes, I think I see a hand up. You're in a glare. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about coaching?
The coaching question for Danny, I'm assuming. Danny, what's your favorite thing about coaching?
Just as I said before, passing on kind of my knowledge and experience, but managing players, leading players, not only by example and the standards that we speak about, but hopefully developing them in a way and pushing them even further than they expected they could go. I had a long career after I retired in the development phase of coaching 18, 19, 20-year-olds and then moving up to the second team and then with pros. So I feel I have a good understanding of working with those personalities and helping them achieve their goals, not only in a football sense, but also as a young adult growing into a man. And that's really important as well. And I feel I have a good balance of that in having a coach-player relationship, but them respecting me in that what I'm trying to help them with is only going to help us as a team and be more successful on the field as well. But helping young men achieve their dreams is how I grew up in this game, and I hope to pass that along. Great jacket, by the way. I need one of them.
Yeah, we'll get you a blazer.
That's my style on the sideline.
We'll get you a blazer. I'm not sure what size. We're gonna need a big blazer. It's a 6'4" striker. Well, I'm not seeing too guys. You know what would be great? I love your questions, but after I think you'll get more out of it if you come up after we're done talking. But it's not for the lack of questions, but short of any other questions out here, I'm seeing we've covered most of the questions on the stream, and I do really want to give both Danny and Trevor some time to stick around. Hopefully, folks have at least one more. It's not very often during the off season that we get to share some community. Obviously, just one more reason today to be excited for this season, which will be here before we know it. I'm sure I don't need to remind these two gentlemen of that. And while I have all of your attention, I do want to remind you this week, hopefully, we will be pushing out a home schedule for the women's indoor PASL team that we are thrilled to be kicking off and piloting for this winter. We're going to do everything we can to make it an unforgettable experience, and probably different in every way, from a Keyworth match And I mean that in the best possible way. So please do stick around. Everyone's going to stay for some additional questions. You guys are the first ones up. And thanks everyone for coming. And we'll be updating everyone as soon as next month with our next meetings. And always stay tuned and sign up for the newsletter to make sure you're on top of all the information as it comes. Thanks everyone. Welcome to Danny, and thank you to Trevor.
Thank you.